Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel and thank you for tuning in on this amazing Monday morning. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the recent weekly candle close, the macro uptrend we have here since the beginning of April, the short-term price action, the possibility for a correction, macro targets, and even the total cryptocurrency market. We're going to be covering all bases today. By the end of today's video, you'll have a detailed understanding of what is occurring and what you should be looking out for moving forward. Now, before we get into it, make sure to smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural analysis. No hype, no BS, no emotion, just pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you are interested in, you can also join us on Telegram. This is the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop for cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. And if you are interested in joining our VIP channel, you can do that by clicking the pinned comment of the free channel, contact our admin by contacting us via this name, check out our entire trading track record, or even watch a 10-minute video showing you inside the VIP channel. You'll get access to the main VIP channel where we post trading setups with the exact entries, targets, and stop losses, including access to a variety of group chats with all of our members, from the general chat to the trading chart and education chat, to the news chat, the help chat, the daily video, and community trade setup chat. Check it out. We'd love to see you in there. Let's jump into the content. So taking a look at Bitcoin over the course of the last 2 months, we have been traveling very steadily along this diagonal uptrend, and as we can see, we have retested it now for a third time, coming close to a fourth retest over the past 12 hours. Now, over the past 12 hours, we have seen a fair amount of news come out, specifically centered around more tariff news. We saw President Donald Trump announce that we were going to see a proposed 50% tariff on the European Union starting June 1st. And just 1 hour ago, he has stated that he is intending to delay this tariff till July 9th. And with that news, we have seen Bitcoin push upwards from the price of around 107 to 109,000. Just one hourly green candle coming as a consequence of what is deemed to be bullish news. So we have seen this overall macro uptrend that we were about to retest, particularly that RSI breakdown, defended yet again. We'll come back and discuss that in the video today. Like we mentioned, we'll also be going over the weekly candle closes that is occurring in just 2 minutes time, and of course the broader cryptocurrency market. So let's start on our liquidation and volume data for today. Taking a look coming out of the weekend, we have seen a little bit of an uptick in our volume as a consequence to that tariff delay, of course. 15% up, 211 billion. Liquidations pushing pretty high up, 108% at 251 million already for this 24-hour period. We can see of those liquidations, the majority of those actually coming from long positions, as Bitcoin did push toward the downside, coming close to retest this higher time frame uptrend. Moving over to the DXY has continued downwards as we have been expecting. Again, we are anticipating a strong macro continuation downwards to 93 to 92 over the next 6 to 12 months. Now, this will be determined by, of course, interest rates. If interest rates do drop sooner, we may see this play out a lot faster. If interest rates drop more aggressively and faster, again, that will also result in this playing out faster. Whereas if we see delays in those reductions, or we see more uncertainty unfold around those future reductions, we could see a little bit more chop sideways. So a lot does rest on the interest rates to determine where the DXY is likely to go. And as you know already, the interest rates play a massive role in overall macro expectations for risk assets. And we're looking at Bitcoin, when we're looking at the S&P 500, and we're zooming out to the higher time frame, talking about where these markets are likely to be in 12 months from now, the interest rate decisions generally do have a long-term domino effect, a bit of a lagging effect on the market. in terms of, not in terms of perception. The market front runs the expectation of future interest rates to price in the adjustments now, but we're looking at the actual impact these reductions in interest rates have in the economy, that being lowering debt to service ratios, increasing available household cash flow, and facilitating more purchasing of assets with cheaper debt that actually does drive to bolster the risk asset market. So we do see this extended long-term impact on the market, which is generally considered to be bullish. And that is why when we have news that interest rates are going to reduce, we see the market rally in anticipation to try and price that in. So we are watching closely the future interest rates. Again, the next decision being on the 26th. Looking at this over here, in 26 days time, I believe, not the 26th. Looking at the S&P 500, we have seen the price push upward. We broke through that change of character. We dropped back below the change of character, confirming deviation, pushing into a short-term downtrend. We are watching two levels now. For us to be confident in continuations to new all-time highs, that is correct. For new all-time highs, we are expecting, again, all-time highs to be reached if we break through this most recent high. So we break this most recent high, we are anticipating this prior level of resistance will fail to sustain as a resistance. We believe we will push through into a brand new all-time high. And when we're looking at supports, we've got this horizontal rectangular gray box over here, right in that VRPV gap, sitting around about that 5,700 to 5,680 level. If this region is unable to sustain as a support, we will see a higher time frame correction. So until then, we are going to chop between these two levels before we make a definitive directional move. Again, breaking through that high will be the trigger for what I believe a new all-time high. Let's go ahead and jump into Bitcoin, guys. And the daily candle has literally just closed. So we'll be having that, well, weekly candles just closed. Sorry, we'll be able to discuss that in the video today. Before we get into it, make sure to smash that like button, guys, of course. And if you were interested in supporting the content even further, you can also sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, and BingX. So these are the exchange links down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45%, all based on your trading volume. You'll go to support me making the content on a daily basis. And most importantly, you'll be trading on exchanges I use and I trust to support yourself. Check it out. We'll play an ad and we'll get right back into it. If you are looking for a new exchange or just want to support the channel, sign up to BitUnix with the link down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45% based on your trading volume, as well as access to a bonus reward center, and of course, all of the exclusive campaigns we run on this exchange. You'll also get access to BitUnix being a non-KYC exchange, meaning you can sign up from anywhere in the globe without regulations. And most importantly, I only promote exchanges I trust and I use. As you can see, I trade on BitUnix very regularly, being the highest VIP level with over $500 million in trading volume for the last 30 days. And lastly, if you were interested in signing up to our other two exchanges, BingX or BitGet, you can also do that via the links down below. You as well will get the 15% trading fee discount and everything else that comes with it. Go ahead and sign up. Thank you for supporting. Let's jump back in. Okay team, let's go ahead and get back into the content. So as we can see, we just had a weekly candle close, and yes, this weekly candle was of course a bullish weekly candle. Now what we are seeing here is we are seeing some sort of potential bearish divergence in the weekly playing out. Now this may not play out, it may not develop further. It does depend how this weekly candle closes. Now the reason I am bringing this up is because if we look at the price action, we can see we do have the price action creating brand new highs over here. We're creating brand new highs, but the RSI is not doing so. So we do run the risk of this potentially being that last higher time frame leg upwards before we enter a higher time frame correction, and something we'll be discussing further in the video today. But it is something that we need to keep an eye on, particularly how it develops moving forward, because if we do see a red weekly candle that engulfs one of those prior green candles, that bearish divergence is going to be a lot more apparent and could actually lead to steeper corrections. We need to be aware of the potential for how that momentum is developing and what that means. So not always are the things that are apparent, there are things that are developing that we need to be paying attention to and watching to see how they develop. And only when they are developed, then we can actually act on those things. So we'll come back to the weekly chart, because in terms of the weekly candle was as expected. It was a bullish weekly close. There's not too much more to talk about. What we can see here, if we're looking at the candle itself, we have got equal wicks toward the upside and downside. So we already know that we ran into a bit of indecision over here, a bit of temporary volatility toward the downside and upside, maybe a fair amount of profit taking as we breach into those new all-time highs. But in terms of whether or not this candle itself is bearish, it is not a bearish candle. It is a pretty solid candle for now, and that is all we have to say for the weekly candle close. The good thing is the weekly candle close was able to sustain above 104.8k. Let's come back to Bitcoin in just a second, but let's move over to the total cryptocurrency market cap and the altcoin market. So the total cryptocurrency market cap is really going to be that one chart that is going to kind of hold on hand, essentially, through the directional expectations for the broader markets, so Bitcoin and the altcoin market. Is really going to be a strong sign of what is to come in the future. And at the moment, we are watching two very simple levels. We are watching, number one, that macro uptrend on the total cryptocurrency market cap, depicted by this diagonal uptrend. As you can see, we've retested that now twice, okay? And number two, we are watching our macro resistance, which is sitting at this gray box between 3.6 to 3.7. And if we want to break it down one more time, we are also going to be watching the weekly momentum to act as a trigger for the next macro leg up for the market. So let's start on the weekly. If we're looking for the next macro leg up for the market, essentially what we will consider a parabolic move for the market, where Bitcoin goes crazy, altcoins go crazy, the cryptocurrency market cap gains $1 trillion in valuation. When will that really kick off? Well, for us to see that kick off, we need to see two things. We need to see, number one, the momentum turn bullish, and number two, we need to see the price break through these prior highs. If we see both of these things occur, we will very likely see the cryptocurrency market enter that next parabolic leg up. This is where all the explosive returns come from, where all the hype come back in the market, all the, dumb money flows back in and pumps all the bags towards the moon, essentially. For us to see that hype phase, we need to see the cryptocurrency market break through this resistance. And again, a leading sign will be momentum. So we have not done that yet. So we need to be aware that until now, we have not breached these highs, at least for the cryptocurrency market. And thus we do have the risk of corrections before we reach that. So that brings us down to the daily chart. For us to see the price breakthrough, all we need to do, very simple, is we need to continue to create higher lows as we trend along and above this diagonal uptrend. Provided we remain above the diagonal uptrend, the natural trajectory of the price action is going to be into this high time frame resistance. Now, if we do that, we will also naturally develop new higher lows, such as over here, a higher low, such as over here, a higher low, as the price continues. Only upon the loss of a prior higher low and the diagonal uptrend do we run the risk of steeper high time frame corrections, which may result in Bitcoin failing to continue upwards on the macro, developing that bearish divergence we discussed on the weekly initially, and resulting in a steeper downtrend. A downtrend we'll discuss in just a moment. So we are very much going to remain aware of these potentials, but until then, the overall trajectory is still going to be up. Let's take a look at the altcoin market. The altcoin market is very similar, but the two key levels we are watching for the altcoin market are going to be our bullish trigger and our bearish trigger. Our bearish trigger being the baseline of the Ichimoku cloud, this orange line. If we drop below here, I do believe we will see a large altcoin correction. The altcoin market will likely fall apart. Now, for us to see that occur, we need to see, of course, Bitcoin drop below its weekly macro uptrend, and the altcoin and the total cryptocurrency market drop below its macro uptrend. So a lot needs to happen for that to develop, but if we do see that, that is going to be okay, time to start stacking altcoin shorts. When we're looking at when is the time to start stacking altcoin swing longs, well, we'll be looking at 940. So 940 is our bullish trigger. A break above 940 shall result in a strong rally above the $1 trillion mark. Again, by doing so, we will see a large rally, 30, 40, 50% rallies for altcoins, which will be incredibly profitable. Until then, we are in this horizontal decision zone between our baseline, which is upwardly converging, and our horizontal flat resistance, that resistance at 940 billion. Watching very closely, guys, paying attention, a lot can develop, and some big consequences of either of these moves in the future. Let's move over to Bitcoin now. We'll come back to the weekly and start on that short term. So starting on the short term over here, the 12-hour chart. As we mentioned, we do have a very strong uptrend. Now, these uptrends are very good, but they also do provide very clear pivot points to the price action, such as we had this higher time frame macro downtrend. We had this higher time frame downtrend. We remained under. When we broke through that region, what do we see? Well, we flipped into a high time frame uptrend, again remaining above these diagonal trend lines. These trend lines are dynamic resistance points. They simply act as, I guess, what you could identify as triggers, where if we were to break below this region, not necessarily the break of this diagonal level is going to trigger a massive correction, but it shows us that we have, I guess, relative weakness in comparison to the trajectory of the trend that we have seen throughout the entirety of however long that trend lasted. Okay, when we look at the trend angle, the angle of the trend starts to break. It simply signifies weakness in the trajectory, and if we have that weakness, the potential that our most recent highs become local tops, and for us to break below our most recent low highs begin to increase. So the probabilities begin to shift. So we can see how, again, if we were to flip this chart, we had a similar uptrend, we broke the uptrend, we entered a downtrend, okay? And if we flip it back to the normal scale, we've got exactly the opposite thing. We had a downtrend, we broke the downtrend, we are now in a uptrend. So we do have this steep uptrend, and no matter how we spin it, steep uptrends always do pose a degree of risk for the market, because when the market rallies in an aggressive steep trend, we sometimes do see high time frame mean reversion. We either have to see high time frame mean reversion, simply meaning the price action corrects a portion of the uptrend, finds demand, and then continues upwards, or we see what we saw here, which is extended horizontal accumulation to absorb the selling pressure before then making a definitive directional continuation, either up or downward, once that selling pressure has been mostly absorbed. So in this instance, if we were to continue along this trajectory, all that will do will result in a larger and more violent correction when that does occur. So a correction is bound to occur for Bitcoin. The question is, how high will this trend develop until we either enter a correction to see mean reversion and then continuations, or of course, we just enter direct horizontal to absorb that selling pressure. But one of these two things will likely occur, and of course, this uptrend will be bound to break at some point. So when we're looking at this uptrend, of course, we're looking at our momentum. We can see we actually cracked below that RSI, confirming that the momentum through this period, if we take a look at these lows over here, okay, the momentum developing through this entire period of uptrend actually momentarily turned negative. And that is generally going to be a leading sign that the price action is getting ready to actually drop. But we saw the Trump delay, we saw President Donald Trump delay the tariffs, which resulted in what we saw to be a massive short-term green candle, which essentially saved the price action from breaking down at that point in time, avoiding what could have been a correction towards that 50 moving average at least, and actually facilitated a short-term reversal in the price action. Again, these news events have the power to dramatically alter the direction of price action on the short term and on the macro. So when we're looking at this correction now, we need a little bit more evidence, we need a little bit more confidence. We're watching for a break of this trend line. If the trend line breaks, where would we expect the price action to go? We're watching mean reversion to 50. We're watching mean reversion to 200. So 97,000, 106,000, absolute worst case scenario, prior higher lows, 93,000. Worst case scenario, guys. If we see, that would be the worst case scenario. So let's jump into now the short-term price action on the 4-hourly and discuss what is happening over here. So let's just get rid of our RSI line over here. The 4-hourly, what we can see. Actually, let's go hourly, guys. Let's go to hourly. So what we can see in the hourly is, of course, we had that explosive rally from the Trump news. Now, even with that rally, we were unable to break through what we can see to be these prior hives. So we've got this cluster of resistance sitting right over here at around 109,000. Again, for us to be confident in continuations, we need to see this level break. If we see this level break, I'd be pretty confident that we'll see a rally at least to 110,000. The reason we say 110 is because, again, prior change of character, prior support becomes future resistance. We can see in the VRPV, we have a VRPV gap over here. So if we break through this cluster of resistance, we will likely see a rally to 110, where we will then either find resistance and continue back down, or if we do break through, of course, breaking through these highs is going to be the trigger for Bitcoin continuing into a new all-time high. We know already 115 being the target point if we break back above these highs. On the short term, while we remain underneath this resistance is resistance until it is not. So although we've seen a good rally, I don't believe this is enough yet to be confident we're going higher. In fact, there's a pretty good chance we may see a short-term rejection all the way back down to retest that uptrend. So we are paying very close attention to these scenarios on the short term. Breakthrough here, expect continuations. While we sit under, expect this to act as resistance, and of course resistance increases the likelihood that the price action is going to reject and continue back towards our levels of demand and support. So that is it for the short term. We've talked about the weekly, of course, pending bearish divergence. For us to eradicate that, we need to see this weekly be good. We need to see a good weekly close over here. We need to see a good weekly push. Ideally, the weekly close, we want to see above our prior all-time high. So again, the prior all-time high sitting right over here, 109,000, basically 110,000. Closing a weekly above 110,000 would be incredibly bullish for a continuation upwards on the macro, not only for Bitcoin, but for the rest of the cryptocurrency market. So thank you for tuning in, guys. Have a fantastic day. We'll catch you in tomorrow's video. We have a lot to discuss, of course. We look forward to seeing you all then, and we'll see you there. Bye.